Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're going to be looking at a company that's been making some noise lately.
Oh, yeah.
KeyCorp,
Okay.
ticker symbol KEY.
All right.
They had kind of a rough day on January 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Stock price fell almost 2% to close at $17.30.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Some analysts are still really optimistic about KeyCorp's future.
Interesting.
So what's the deal here? Should you buy it, hold on to it if you have it, or are we running for the hills on this one?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And, KeyCorp's kind of defying categorization right now.
Okay.
So to really get what's going on, we need to look at some details.
Okay.
So starting with the Q4 2024 earnings report.
All right, so let's unpack that. What stood out to you when you looked at the report? Anything that just screamed buy or sell right away?
Well, the first thing I saw was a net loss of $279 million.
Oh, wow.
So I think some investors probably got a little spooked by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
But then there's also an adjusted net income figure of $378 million,
Okay.
or 38 cents per diluted share.
So hold on. So which number is the one we should be looking at? How do we figure this out?
That's the big question. The adjusted net income, I think, is usually a little more accurate at reflecting a company's performance.
Gotcha.
Because it takes out the unusual items.
Okay.
And for KeyCorp, that difference is mainly because of losses from security sales.
Okay.
And those losses made some analysts nervous enough to downgrade the stock.
Yeah.
Morgan Stanley went from 23 to 22 as their price target.
Okay.
And Keefe Bruyette from 22 to 21.
Interesting. So we've got these mixed signals coming from the earnings report. We've got a scary sounding loss that might not be that bad. And we've got some analysts that are getting cautious.
Yeah.
So how does all this affect an average investor trying to figure out what to do with KeyCorp?
Well, this is where we put on our detective hats.
And take a look at the stock chart, particularly the technical indicators.
Okay, I like that. So what are the technicals telling us? What kind of evidence are we looking for?
Well, one thing that kind of jumps out at me is that KeyCorp's price is under its 50-day simple moving average.
Okay.
Which is about $18.27.
Got it.
Now, this could mean that there's some short-term bearish sentiment going on. But, and this is important, the price is still above the 200-day simple moving average, which is around $16.20.
Okay.
So that longer-term trend line could mean things are still looking up overall.
So we've got this kind of tug-of-war going on.
Yeah.
Short-term concerns versus long-term potential.
Right.
What else can we look at to help us decipher this?
Well, another indicator we could use is the RSI, Relative Strength Index.
Gotcha.
Now, for KeyCorp, that's currently at 48.40.
Okay.
To understand, imagine a scale from 0 to 100. Under 30 usually means the stock is oversold.
Okay.
It could bounce back. Over 70 might be overbought and in for a correction.
Okay.
KeyCorp is right in the middle,
meaning
it's neither overbought nor oversold.
So no clear signal there.
Yeah.
Is that good, bad, or just part of the mystery?
Well, it could mean a couple of things.
Okay.
On the one hand, it means the market's still not sure about where KeyCorp's going.
Okay.
On the other hand, it could also mean things are stable.
Okay.
The price has support around 17.19 and resistance near that 50-day moving average at 18.27.
So the technical indicators are giving us some mixed signals, but it sounds like we need more to figure out KeyCorp's prospects.
Yeah.
Where should we look next? I always like to look at the big picture when I'm looking at a stock.
Yeah.
What's the economy like right now, and how might that affect KeyCorp?
Oh, that's a great point. It's like if you're trying to figure out what the weather's going to be like, you got to look at the big patterns, not just what it's like right now. And for 2025, things are actually looking pretty good.
Okay.
GDP growth is projected to be about 2.5%.
Okay.
And inflation should stabilize around 2.5% too.
So pretty decent environment.
Yeah.
But how does all that affect KeyCorp?
Well, Wall Street analysts are saying that earnings should grow about 10% for the S&P 500 this year.
Okay.
That means the bull market might keep going.
Yeah.
And remember that KeyCorp said they think their net interest income will grow by 20% in 2025.
Yeah.
A strong economy could really help them hit that number.
Okay, so a good economy should help KeyCorp. But besides that, Are there any other reasons to be optimistic about KeyCorp, even with the downgrades?
Absolutely. Remember we were talking about being detectives? Well, some analysts have been digging into KeyCorp's strategy.
Okay.
And they're seeing good things.
Yeah.
D.A. Davidson even raised their price target to $20.
Yeah, $20. That's a big change after those other downgrades.
Yeah.
What's making them so optimistic?
I think part of it is KeyCorp's partnership with Scotiabank.
Okay.
It's a big deal. KeyCorp is investing $2.8 billion.
Can you remind us about that partnership and why it's important?
Yeah, so basically, KeyCorp is trying to make their capital base stronger.
Okay.
And get their portfolio ready for future growth.
Okay.
They're being proactive, and it seems like some analysts think it will make them successful in the long run.
So they're not just waiting for the economy to help them. They're trying to make things happen themselves. That's got to be a good thing for investors, right?
It definitely makes things more interesting. But, investing is all about balancing risk and reward.
Right.
There are a few things investors need to think about with KeyCorp.
Okay, let's talk about the risks. What should we be watching out for?
One thing to keep an eye on is what the Federal Reserve does with interest rates.
Okay.
They might cut rates this year, but it might be more gradual than people thought.
I'm still learning about financial markets.
Yeah.
Can you explain why that could be a risk for KeyCorp?
Of course. So banks usually do better when interest rates are higher because they make more money from loans.
Right.
So if the Fed is slow to cut rates, that could hurt KeyCorp's profits.
Got it. So it's a balancing act.
Exactly.
Between a strong economy and what the Fed does with interest rates.
Right. And then there's another thing. Investors look at KeyCorp's CET1 ratio.
Okay.
Common Equity Tier 1 ratio.
I'm not really familiar with that ratio.
That's okay. Think of it like a test to see how strong a bank is.
Okay.
It measures if they have enough money to handle tough times.
Yeah.
A higher CET1 ratio means the bank is stronger.
Okay.
And 10.5% is really good.
Okay.
So KeyCorp should be able to handle any problems that come up.
Well, that's good, especially for people who don't like to take a lot of risk. It sounds like KeyCorp is in a good spot, even with all the uncertainty we've talked about.
I think that's fair. But like with any investment, you have to make a decision based on your own goals and how much risk you're comfortable with.
That's a great point. We've covered a lot today. From the excitement about KeyCorp to the earnings report being up and down, the technical indicators, how the economy might affect them, and even the moves they're making.
Absolutely.
We also talked about some risks to watch out for, like the Fed's interest rate decisions.
Right.
It's a lot of information, but hopefully it helps people understand KeyCorp better.
Yeah, I think it's like having all the ingredients for a great meal, but you still have to put them together the right way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where doing your own research comes in.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what's the bottom line? What should listeners do if they're thinking about investing in KeyCorp? So we've got this weird situation with KeyCorp. It seems kind of risky right now, but in the long run, it could still be a good investment.
Yeah, and I think this is a great example of why you have to look at everything and not just the headlines.
Exactly. One report or one price target change doesn't tell the whole story. You got to look at the economy, the company's plans, and how much risk you can handle.
Right. You got to put it all together, look at it from different sides, and then decide what works for you and your goals.
Well said. I think that's a good way to wrap this up. KeyCorp is a stock to watch in 2025. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Investing is always changing. There's always something new to learn. That's what makes it fun.
I agree. Thanks for being here today to talk about KeyCorp. I hope you learned something.
Yeah, it was great to be here.
And to all our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to Investing Talk Podcast for more deep dives on companies and what's happening in finance.
And if you like this episode, tell your friends and leave a comment. We want to know what you think.
That's all for today. Happy investing, everyone.